Right, so we're going to start the second hour of the Premier League show with Arsenal, who completed that perfect Champions League phase by beating bottom club Kairat Almaty 3-2. Their focus now returns to the Premier League title charge and a trip to Leeds on Saturday, which we've had a little chat about. But, Danny, finishing top, a huge bonus, you'd have to say, for Mikel Arteta. Are you backing them to go on and win the Champions League?
I still think it's very, very, very difficult.
OK.
To win are they going to win every single game now through to the final? No. You know, I would say they're going to lose a game. Do they lose 1-0 and then win the other game 2-0 and obviously go through? There's every chance of that as well. So I think it's going to depend on the bad game that they have in the Champions League. How bad is it? You know, a 1-0 defeat is not a problem, but if it's 2 or 3, then obviously you start to struggle. You know, in the reverse leg.
Why can't they? Because they've got this 100% record so far. They've beaten some good teams along the way.
Well, I don't think it's ever happened before.
So you're going on history.
I would go on I would go on probability.
OK.
And probably sensible. But, you know, it's like, you know, can you win every game in the Premier League? It's not going to happen. You know,
No.
to go invincible, it's almost impossible. You know, we've seen it, only ever seen it once. So that's not going to be easy. There's one or two cracks. Obviously, you know, we've seen in Arsenal at the moment. I guess the answer is, or the question is, the centre forward. Do they have a centre forward that, if Arsenal are playing badly, who's going to score for them?
Yeah.
Who's going to get them that goal? You know, we've seen it in the past in the likes of Tottenham, Bayern Munich, Harry Kane. Manchester City, Sergio Aguero, and then obviously after that, you've now got Erling Haaland to do that. Liverpool was Mo Salah, you know, before sort of this season would always come up with something. Do Arsenal have that player this season that, if they don't play well as a team, can almost just win the game out of nothing? I think that would be the question mark over Arsenal. But they're in the box seat. You know, they're playing well. They're still 4 points clear in the Premier League. They're top of the Champions League. Why not? I think it's just the last 2 or 3 seasons where people go, well, they haven't quite done it before. They might fail. And as I said before, I think if City overtake them in the league, psychologically that would be a big problem and a huge hurdle to try and overcome. But in the Champions League, they have to go into every game now with full confidence and full belief.
And obviously they'd had a little bit of a wobble, shall we say. You know, they drew with Forest, they defeat Manchester United that no one really saw coming.
It's a bad time to play Manchester United, though.
I guess,
you know, Manchester United off the back of beating City. Michael Carrick's in, you know, there's a huge buzz about the place. Everybody's feeling better. Maybe it was just the wrong time to play Manchester United. Yeah,
interesting, isn't it? Do you think that win last night, though, will have settled the nerves? Even though, you know, I don't mean to be disparaging, but it was Kairat Almaty.
Oh, no, definitely. You know, confidence, belief, momentum, you know, are the key things. And I think, you know, they need to keep winning games. OK, you know, I'm sure they'd rather have kept a clean sheet and been a little bit more solid. But it's another win. You know, you go, oh, right, OK, job done, we're top. Mikel Arteta, I'm sure, is saying to the players, you're top of the Premier League. You're top of the Champions League table. What are you afraid of? There is no one out there that you need to be worried about. Go and do your job. Go and play your game. And there's no reason why we can't beat everybody and fill them with confidence and belief at this stage, because that's what they're going to need.
Do you think that is rubbing off on them a little bit? You know, I mean, obviously, I'm sure he would have been delighted to see Havertz and Gyökeres get on the score sheet, but they haven't. And like you say, nobody's their out-and-out striker, but they've been there or thereabouts for the last 3 seasons without an out-and-out striker. So do they need it, or do they just need everyone?
Well, City have done it without a striker.
Yeah.
Not Liverpool. Mo Salah's not really a striker. So it's possible, the way that the game is played. You know, it's no longer 4-4-2 and old school, get crosses into the box.
No.
It's a different type of football, players scoring from midfield. You know, Saka probably needs to chip in and start to get back the form that we've seen in the past, if they're going to win more than one trophy this season. Yeah, of course they've got the potential. But this is what you talk about when the teams say you've not won it before. Is there that belief that they can get over the line? Is there that confidence? And this is where the skill is going to come in for Mikel Arteta, who's obviously been at Manchester City under Pep. He needs to say to players, you can win this. Don't worry about what's behind you. Keep looking up. Next game, we get 3 points. Next game, we get 3 points. Next game, we're Champions League. We win this game. And he's got to keep instilling that belief and confidence into those players if they're going to get over the line.
Yeah, interesting points. OK, Dave's got more with a route to the final.
Yeah, the Champions League phase has now been wrapped up, so confirmation of the real Premier League dominance in Europe this season. 5 of the 6 English clubs finished in that top 8, and a spot in the last 16 is theirs, while only Newcastle finished in the playoff places after that draw against Paris Saint-Germain. So this is how the final standings look then after the league phase. Arsenal, a perfect 8 out of 8, finished top. Liverpool and Spurs, 3rd and 4th. Chelsea's win in Naples meant they finished in 6th position. Real Madrid's shock defeat, as well as PSG's draw, meant that City sneak into the top 8 and avoid 2 extra fixtures next month. So the road to Budapest starts now then, with the draw taking place on Friday morning. Arsenal as top seeds. They're going to avoid Bayern Munich until at least the final, if they get there. And they could meet Manchester City, though, in the quarter-finals, and then potentially with Spurs, Liverpool or Chelsea in the semis. Arsenal will face either Atalanta, Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund or Olympiacos in the last 16. Liverpool and Spurs will face one of Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Galatasaray or Club Brugge in the last 16, while Manchester City could be on course for a showdown with Real Madrid again, or possibly Bodo Glimt, who shocked them last week. Of course, Benfica and Inter are their other potential last 16 opponents. Chelsea's reward for finishing 6th, potential tie with holders PSG, Monaco, Karabag or Newcastle United. According to our good friends at Opta, Arsenal have the best chance of lifting the trophy in Budapest with a 29.8% probability now. Newcastle, as we mentioned, the only English side not to finish in that top 8. It means a mammoth February of fixtures is on the way for Eddie Howe after they finish January at Liverpool this weekend. They'll have 8 fixtures to contend with, including 4 Premier League games, a Carabao Cup semi-final second leg, a 4th round FA Cup tie, and of course those 2 Champions League playoffs. The English club's performance in the league phase is great news for any Premier League teams who want a spot in the competition next season. England way out in front in UEFA's coefficient table, and this all means that the Premier League is almost certain now to pick up a 5th Champions League spot once again for next season. The top 2 member associations gain that extra place. Vicky?
Which is good to hear, isn't it, that we get that extra place. You were scoffing at some of those Opta stats, but we'll come to that in a minute, Danny. It was quite funny to watch them go when they ever getting it right. We've got 5 Premier League teams there with a chance, haven't we? Why are English clubs dominating, do you feel, Dave?
Well, I think there's 2 strands to that answer. It might be quite a long answer. I guess how have they done it? The league phase draw worked in the English clubs' favour this season, so there were 3 clubs in pot 1. And of course there was country protection, so they couldn't face any other English side in the league phase. Premier League, as we know, the most powerful league in Europe by some distance, so they couldn't face another very strong side from the Premier League. There were 3 other sides outside of pot 1, and actually I think they got quite favourable draws. If you look at Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal, Tottenham have been pretty ordinary in the Premier League, but they've managed to overcome some decent opponents in the Champions League, but it could have been tougher than it was. So I think how they've done it is the draw has worked in teams' favour, and then the other reason, the underlying reason really, is the finances of Premier League clubs. If we rewind a week, we did the Deloitte Money League results on the Premier League show, which was the top 30 sides who have got the maximum revenue, and essentially there were 6 English sides in that top 10. And that not necessarily is the story, but it's more the clubs outside of the top 10. So you're looking at clubs like Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Everton, all in the top 30. They're able to compete with clubs to sign players like Roma, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, some real European giants. And when you're able to compete, you're able to sign some of the best players ahead of those sides. Those good players are already in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then the Champions League clubs look at those players and go, well, they're good. We'll try and sign them, which has happened in the last year or so. And it takes good players away from other European sides. Is there a way to fix it? I mean,
No.
UEFA could drop
No.
the country protection. They could drop the country protection.
Yeah.
Maybe have it so.
Champions League system was, so the best teams get into the latter stages. I'll simplify that. The best teams generally have the best players cost the most money. Give or take, that's always been the way. You know, in the Premier League in Europe, that's how it works. You know, you'll always get an anomaly where a Leicester punch way above their weight, or a team, but generally, if you've got the best players and you spend the most money, you pretty much have almost a guarantee of being up there or thereabouts.
Yeah. I mean, you saw Arsenal beat Inter Milan fairly comfortably, and they made a host of changes, Arsenal. Bayern Munich, one of the best sides, probably, I guess most people would say, outside of Arsenal, and Arsenal beat them. Now, things can change in the knockout phase, obviously. Two-legged games, fine margins, things can change. So certainly the league phase, I think, plays into the favour of English sides. And it's like a vicious circle, because England now way ahead in the coefficient. There'll be another extra team next year. If Villa, for example, go and win the Europa League, that could be another time where there's 6 English sides. Well, I think
was it last year for a little bit? We were looking at maybe seven English teams in the Champions League.
Gets lower than that,
It starts to get a little bit silly, I think.
Good
at
for
that
those.
point. I'm not having your coefficient for Opta, by the way.
No, you're not having that.
What was PSG's chances last year of winning it?
Well, yeah. OK. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Well, look.